Thank you, Ronan, for joining us so many years in a row.
It's a real pleasure, Laurent.
Thank you. You are like part of the family. So many times you accepted to join, and I'm always very happy. So let's begin by a bit back to the future. We have 60% foreigner here. So perhaps some of them, they don't know Arkéa. Arkéa has a small specificity. You were the first one, I believe, in France to have a digital strategy and a fintech strategy. I think before the word fintech was used. So as early in the beginning of the 2000s, Arkéa invested in fintechs and merged with fintech. And so you were like the first one in 2008 to write and broadcast a strategy. And 12 years later, you could perhaps share with us, elaborate a bit about the strategy, and also give us a few key takeaways regarding the collaboration between a bank and fintechs, because perhaps some of you don't know, but they bought many, they work with many, so quite a lot of experience to share. Ronan?
First of all, I think that the most important thing you have to do when you buy a fintech, it's to do nothing. I mean, you buy it often with an important goodwill, financial goodwill. You have to protect it. So when we bought Fortunio, Pumpkin, Litchi, and so on, it was clear in my mind that we do to have no anything day one. It's very important for me because management must be focused on the business. Second, of course, you have to make some synergy, but only business synergy. When Monex, which is one of our subsidiaries, works with Mangopé, part of Litchi, or when Ma Succession works with one of our local branch, it's only to build some business strategy. Often you think that merging IT platform or sharing the same offices can be a good idea. I'm sure this is not a good idea. You have to leave the management in the office. You have to keep the IT platform. You have just to make some synergy, but business synergy. And then I think you have to share the capital. I mean, when you buy a fintech, one of the most important things is to have a long-term, to be aligned on long-term. And for the management, it's very important to have a part of the capital. For me, between 20 or 25%. It could last 2 or 5 years. But in order to be sure that we share the same goals, in fact, very important for me. And see, I believe you have to be patient. When you buy a fintech, often it doesn't make money. And you have to be sure that we have good growth, a good market share growth, but at the same time, you have to be patient and to be able to accept to lose money for a while. Very, very important. But maybe the most important thing to me is to avoid to make some organizational synergy day one. Business synergy are important, organization can wait for a while.
Thank you. This morning we had some bankers on stage. We debate about the future of banking. As I mentioned, you were the first one with this strategy 12 years ago, so let's project in the next 10 years. What do you see as the key changes for retail banking in the next 10 years?
Of course, we can say that artificial intelligence or product diversification are among the most challenges we have to face in the future. But for me, for retail banks, the most important thing, the biggest challenge for the future is moving from selling product to selling experience. If retail bank continues to sell products, they will be in competition with pure players which are faster and are cheaper. On the other hand, if you are able to sell an experience to your customer, I mean to build the experience of buying your apartment, the financial insurance, be able to construct the work of the apartment, you will be able to create an experience for your clients and you will be able to get value for you. But if you stick to selling product, it will be a nightmare for you in the future because you will find some fintech which are much better than us today to do this. Now for me, it's very important. Selling experience, and now we are moving from a sort of vertical integrating scheme to an ecosystem in which you have to be part with all the players which contribute to your value. Now I think that what we did in the past, what we really did in the past was to have some partnership with fintech and to make an experience for our client with this partnership. That's very important. The experience for the clients are very important. Selling product must disappear in the future.
And in 10 years, what about the branches in your banking experience?
I think if we're able to construct an experience for our clients, so our branch, our future. But if we are just people who sell products, only sell products, so number 26, Revolut, and the other one do this much better than us. Look, I think whether we are able to construct an experience with products, except with our product and product of our partners, if we don't able to do, if they don't able to do this, well, we have some trouble in the future.
So we are speaking here of many changes. What are the key breaks for those changes, the key challenges?
I think first, banks think they have time, when time is accelerating. And new competitors going faster and faster, and sometimes ahead of them. I mean, that's one of the break, I think. Second, it is a whole organization in banks, so processes, internal processes that must move to be able to be organized around the need of the customers, and only around the need of customers. In the past, when we were in bank, you were just able to organize the strategy around your own organization, your own needs. And if you are not able to move to an organization organized around the needs of the customer, so you won't be able to manage the future, to manage the competition you will face in the future. And then maybe you have to train the employees, I think. But now when you go in a bank, all employees are ready to move, are ready to change. If you have a good vision, if you're able to explain this vision, so they are ready to change. And I take this opportunity to say that if Arkéa is among the most active regarding its relationship with Fintech, it's because wherever you go in the group, you have people very involved. You have people who are engaged in this revolution. They want to participate in this revolution. And I think the best asset you have when you have to manage the transformation is your people, is your employees.
But do you have the time? When you see the pace of all this evolution, the pace of all these new players, do you feel, do you have fear? Do you think you have the time for all those change?
I think that basically you have to respect some KPIs to be sure that you respect the development of the company and to go quicker and quicker. But at the same time, you have to be aware that you are participating in a sort of revolution, a new world with new competition. This is what I call the exponential experience. It's fantastic to benefit from exponential growth. But as everybody knows here, an exponential looks like this. And the most important job you have to do is before the exponential. You have to buy a fintech, easy. You have to invest in, complex. You have to support the team. You have sometimes to change strategy. It's a very, I think it's a sort of incentive to avoid the stop-and-go policy, stop-and-go strategy. You have to be focused, you have to support the team, you have to take time in order to manage the development of the company. And for me, it sounds like this quotation, a quote of Bill Gates. Do you know the quote of Bill Gates? He said, banking is necessary, banks are not. And for me, the main challenge for the bank in the future is to be able to sell experience to our clients, to be banking, and not to stay a banker. That's a very important thing. So you have to go faster, and at the same time, you have to know that the revolution is for a long time.
Yeah, but how long do you think you will need to put in place a strategy?
I think it would last between 5 and 10 years.
So we are not speaking of Twitter time.
No, not exactly.
So, and do you think it will, I mean, you have all what needed to do it, or you are still, for some subject, looking for the good solutions, the good partners, perhaps in that room, to make things happen?
In fact, when we built this strategy 10 years ago, we decided to construct some partnership with Fintech, and every day we see new Fintech which are able to help us in our development. We both Budget Inside 6 months ago. We bought Pumpkin 1 year ago. We bought Litchi 3 years ago. So day after day, we are trying to make some new partnerships. You are trying to buy some new fintech in order to build our strategy. But we are, I think, we are learning by working.
And you mentioned many fintech you buy. Do you manage to make them work together, like an army of fintech to do many things, or they still do their own business independently?
Basically, we're just trying to to manage the growth. So we want managers to stay focused on their business. And now, I think in 1 or 2 years, we're going to start to make some partnership between our fintech. But now, it's very important for them to get some market share. So we want them, the manager to get focused on the business, only on the business.
Do you have one bad memories, without naming the fintech, but one thing perhaps that didn't work like you would have liked when you bought a fintech?
1 or 2, yes. I won't say there's a name, but yes, 1 or 2.
Not the name, but perhaps explaining what was a mistake, not enough due diligence, and the bad team, the bad deal.
It didn't find his market, in fact. It didn't find his market. We thought it was a good idea, something which will disrupt our market. In fact, it was false. It was an error, a mistake.
So it's more on the concept.
Yeah.
So, and what would be the best advice to give to a fintech who would like to seduce you?
I think you must accept to speak with actors like bank, like traditional bank, which need to learn about you. And sometimes fintech want to go quicker and quicker, and sometimes they would like to sign a partnership in 3 days. And you have to know that it's impossible. You have to discuss with actor for which 1 year is something very common. So if you want to work with us, for instance, you have to be a little bit patient.
And speaking of time and patience, in the time of Twitter I was just mentioning, how do you build a long-term strategy when everybody wants you to have finished tomorrow?
It's difficult to say. I think you have to go fast, and at the same time, you have to know that you participate to a sort of revolution, as I said before. And this revolution needs to be installed. So at the same time, you must be focused on searching new ideas, searching new partnership, buying new fintech, and at the same time, you must need that we are working for the middle term. So it's something you have to find the good range in order to manage it.
And a few last questions, because the time is running. We have 2 minutes. Which are the key technologies you think will bring you new innovations for your group in the coming years?
I don't know if it's new technology, but I could say that Budget Inside, the fintech we bought 6 months ago, must be a very good asset for the future for us. Because
perhaps everybody doesn't know. So what is Budget Inside?
Budget Inside is a PFM, basically, but at the same time, it can aggregate, it's sell API in order to connect you to IT platform of other insurance, other banker, but other firm in
so
general.
It's like a plaid, but much cheaper.
Exactly.
And besides this kind of technology, do you think AI will really change the life of your branches?
I think yes, but for me, the most important thing for us, basically, it's to move from selling product to experience. First, it's very important for us. Second, if you're able to use artificial intelligence, it could be useful. But we have now to work on basic.
And one important question: how does your team member react to this change? I mean, when you say to someone, you were selling a product and you just explain it's not good, you have to sell an experience. I mean, for 20 years I was selling a credit card, and now I have to be the friend of my customer and live an experience with him. Okay, that's very cool for Saturday evening, but how do you explain that to your team?
In fact, they know that the world is changing, and they are waiting for us to build new strategy. So in fact, employees are ready to change. If you have a good vision, if you are able to train them, they are able to change. So it's not a problem today for me with people in Arkéa. When you say we have to move from selling product to a selling experience, they are ready to change. You have to train, just to explain, just to say why it is important to make some partnership. And in fact, they are ready.
We are almost out of time. One last sentence you want to share with the audience?
No, I think that we have a lot of things to do between fintech and bank. A few years ago, we said that fintech was a sort of little mosquito, you know, and now I think that we are ready to work together. There is a lot of things to do together in the future. I think in the future, fintech could do some job with Arkéa. At the same time, maybe we're able to buy some new fintech in the future to construct a strategy. The world is open, I think, and we are far away from this time where we think that fintech was a sort of evil.
Thank you very much. You can applaud.
Thank you.